Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Meet Me in Napa. So glad that you guys are here joining me again, and just want to say thank you for all the great responses that I'm getting from family, friends, and people that I even don't know who are reaching out. Man, I'm just excited to bring you this content to Napa Valley. Today, I'm with a wonderful guest here, Josh Diaz, realtor, aficionado, or should I say realtor, cigar aficionado. Yeah, cigar aficionado. Runs a private cigar room here in Napa Valley, and it's really an awesome space. And if you guys are cigar lovers, you should really come check it out. But yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are, and I mean, I know who you are, but tell the Napa Valley and all the millions of people potentially who will be watching.
Millions. Ooh, this blew up since I saw it last.
Hey, you know what? You gotta speak it into existence,
All right,
man.
for the
You know what I mean?
millions
Yeah,
out
that's
there.
what we're doing.
My name is Josh Diaz, born and raised here in Napa. So small town, used to be a small town kid. I'm 35 years old now, so I thought, do you realize I'm middle aged now? And I didn't, that did not click until the other day when I was talking to someone. I was like, oh, I am the middle age.
Yeah, you're the middle age.
Yeah, there's no longer, I'm not a young adult. I'm not adolescent. I'm full on middle age.
Yeah.
So that's been a rough recognition recently. Born and raised here. Grew up doing pretty much the normal thing, except for I was homeschooled, so I didn't do the normal thing y'all did in public school, but I did everything else y'all did after school. I did the same thing, kind of.
Well, that's an interesting journey.
No, we'll get back.
Yeah. We'll get back to
it's
that.
like the best thing ever and like the worst thing ever, but it was mostly the best thing ever.
Okay.
And then worked restaurants, went to school out Sac State, Stingers up. That's for my fellow. That's my fellow Hornets right there.
All right.
There's like 10 of us, and like 3 of us are proud about it. And then came back, got back into hospitality for a hot minute, and then jumped into real estate. My dad's a real estate broker, so I grew up watching that, and I didn't thoroughly understand what he did because he was really good about work was work, home was home, and being able to keep those two apart. But got into real estate, recognized that I absolutely freaking loved it. Absolutely loved it. And it didn't hurt that I'm from here. And there's something about being connected to the town and knowing everything about the town that just helps.
Yeah.
Cigars, it didn't even start right away. I mean, yes, I had a cigar on my 18th birthday. That was before they changed the law to 21. You actually was 18, right? And so I had a cigar on my 18th birthday with my dad. It was one of those moments where, I had seen my dad have a cigar every now and then with like one of his buddies. So I always wanted to be older and more mature and cool like my dad. And so 18th birthday, he was like, hey, we'll have a cigar together. I don't remember anything about that cigar. I should have kept the ring gauge. I should have done something.
Yeah. You didn't know. You didn't know that. If you would have, you didn't know.
I didn't know I'd end up with a problem.
Yeah.
so I had that first cigar, and even a few years after that, every now and then a cigar, little cigarillos or stuff like that, just enjoy. And then it was 21 when I started drinking. Then I opened up this world of wait a minute. The pairing just took this cigar to a whole nother level.
So let me, you can keep going. I can tell.
I skipped ahead.
But no. So I like, we can segue into that because you talked about the pairing. And what I had brought today is some whiskey, right?
Angel's Envy.
Angel's Envy.
You know where they get that from?
Where?
All right, so when you're making whiskey and after it's been put into barrels, and the barrels go into these big old storage facilities called rick houses, and the rick houses, they're not insulated like we do with our wine cellar in here.
Okay.
There's a lot of same similarities when they're making whiskey, and there's this difference. This is a huge difference. So these barrels go out into these rick houses into the middle of these fields, and down south where they're stored, the weather is far more extreme, colder, hotter,
humid, all that. Yeah.
So the whole idea is they literally will lose a share of their whiskey. It will evaporate because of the incredible temperature changes. They call that the angel's share. Angel's envy became, this is the envy of the angels that they didn't get this. So fun fact.
So we're drinking the whiskey the angels didn't get.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's
go. And do you want me to cut?
Go ahead and cut the cigar while I pour the glass.
Okay.
Yeah.
For those that care, V-cut.
I was gonna ask you, what's the best cut for a cigar? That's what I was gonna.
I'll throw it out for, let's just say you're starting. If you're just starting with cigars, go with V-cut, because with the V-cut, you can't mess it up because you can't put the cigar in too far and you can't give yourself too short of a cut. So I'm gonna do this here. I can do this with my. Oh no, I can't. Hold on. Ooh. So with the V-cut, you just stick the butt of the cigar in there. Bam. Perfect every time. Where's yours at? Again, if you're a little more experienced with cigars, straight cut's great, especially if you're doing like a torpedo or something. You're gonna want a straight cut. You don't want a V cut torpedo or what have you. But you just can't
say it in the mic. Could you say it?
mess up the V cut. Even if you have like a guillotine cutter or like that punch. Actually, I think check it out on the back of this. This is a punch. This is a punch right here. So the reason people like these is it's super consistent as well. But again, you can't do this on a torpedo. You can't do this on a super small cigar. So I just have tended to enjoy V cuts.
Right. Let's light them up, man.
All right.
So yeah, as you're lighting the cigar, you talked about like growing up homeschool.
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you? And I, just to be like brutally honest, like we growing up, every time you heard of a homeschool kid, it's like, oh, those are the kids you like pick on, or those were the awkward kids, the weird kids, right?
No, and you guys did.
You seem like a pretty.
No, you nailed it. You all did a real good job of that. No problems at all.
Yeah, no problems at all. But you seem to turn out like a cool guy. You know what I mean? So I mean, but what was that? What was that like for you growing up homeschool? Because that's a unique experience, no matter where you are in in America.
Through a lot of years of therapy, and I was able to recognize that there was an insecurity I grew up with of not being normal. I always thought, and I didn't recognize this probably till about high school area, that there was like this need to please and wanted to be a people pleaser and stuff like that because I didn't want to be the weird person out. So I grew up, like, first and foremost, I mean, let's preface this. The fact that my parents decided to homeschool and they're willing to take on the challenge of homeschooling, three of us, I have an older sister, a younger brother, can't thank them enough. The fact that they chose to do that, my dad chose to work his butt off so that my mom could stay and raise us and homeschool us, all the respect in the world. And if I can replicate that, that's like the pinnacle. That'd be amazing. That being said, you can't get away from the idea that when you do homeschool, when you choose that, you aren't at school daily, so you don't see the kids every day. You don't interact every day. You don't hear everything that they're talking about and know what's going on. So the parents have to be super intentional about letting their kids and pushing their kids to be involved in that way as well. So, so when I was 7, started playing baseball, regularly, or Babe Ruth. What do we have? Cal Ripken, Babe Ruth.
Yeah,
like
Babe Ruth, yeah.
So, so a few times a week I'm seeing, kids. Youth group at the church. Every week we're doing that. Always, man, it was really blessed to be in neighborhoods that had kids all around. So it wasn't like I was out, let's say I was out deep in the avenues or up in Berryessa or somewhere where there was that interaction not available.
Right.
I could see this would be a very different interview.
Yeah. Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, this would be a very different interview.
So what were some of the, would you say some of the, even the social, so like kids who, maybe go to school and all the regular, what we would say normal routine.
Yeah.
What do you feel like socially was your thing growing up? Like as a,
So what was cool about homeschooling, I'm going to have a sip of
Yeah. Have a cheers, man.
Oh, cheers, man.
Yeah.
What was cool about homeschooling is it puts you, at least the way my parents did it, is it puts you on your own kind of track. That you woke up at your, we had chores to do in the morning before we even had breakfast, and then school started. And when school was starting, there were certain things I could do on my own, certain things I couldn't do on my own, because it was my mom's our teacher, and we were doing things together. Started about junior high, though, a lot of the stuff, computers, when they were big and had big old desktops, and I couldn't log onto the internet because my mom was on the phone.
Yeah, had to be the phone line, yeah.
So when that kind of started, I was able to do stuff on my own, on the computer.
Okay.
Now, when that happened, I knew my friends weren't getting out. No one was coming home till like 3 or 4 in the neighborhood. So what I would do then is I would just pile through a few days of school in a row if I could, so that when summer rolled around, for some reason, if our days didn't line up with summer days like that, I was almost on my own school schedule and I could get ahead of it. And so my socializing was, as soon as kids were home from school, I was outside.
You was outside?
I was outside.
All right.
On my bike or my razor scooter. I had like this pretty much a range that I was allowed to go. It was within my mom's whistle. You laugh like, oh, that still happened. Yeah, that still happened. As long as I could hear my mom whistle, I was good to go.
Okay. So, so you were homeschooled, and were you homeschooled through high school as well?
All the way.
All the way to high school.
All the way to high school.
Because a lot of people I know, like, they'll do all the way and then they actually go to high school.
Right.
But yeah. So you had
wouldn't have been a terrible idea, Mom, Dad.
So did you do prom, or did you do?
Okay, hold on.
Like, I feel like this is a trauma again.
It's okay. Well, prom happened.
Yeah.
I knew prom was happening.
Yeah.
And I remember one year, I think probably my junior year, got invited to prom, but then the group that gal was going to go with decided to not do prom altogether. So I was like planning on going on prom, then decided not to do it, so we didn't do it like that. Bro, I didn't go to prom. This is embarrassing. This is going to stay right here.
Yeah.
Sort of.
And the millions of people that are going to see
it. Girlfriend I had, I think I was 18 or 19.
Uh-huh.
Oh, God, I hope I was only 19 at max. I was dating a gal. She was 3 years younger than I was. Her senior prom, she wanted me to go with her to her senior prom. Mm-hmm. So I didn't end up going to senior prom until I was way out of high school. And it was kind of creepy. I'm not going to lie. It felt weird. I was like, this is not what I imagined in the slightest. I felt like a dad just keeping an eye on everybody, And so that was my prom experience. So I don't think y'all are missing much if you don't go to prom.
Yeah, yeah.
But
so you talked about your dad being in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So after prom, you threw up the stinger. You said you went to Sac State,
right? So okay. So yeah, when you asked about going homeschooling through to high school, I did. And the cool thing about being homeschooled, if you're like in a charter school or private school, you can start going to the JC when you're 15 and a half.
Okay.
You can start 15 and a half. I think you can start going to the JC because there's a certain level of class that you can do. And the classes double up on college and high school credit. So I started doing that at 16. I'd go to the JC. I would do all my classes there for the most part, and they were counted towards college credit. Uh-huh. So by the time I'm like 17, I'm graduating high school, and I've got a year and a half of college kind of wrapped up within that. So I was doing that, took a break when I was 18, went to Bible college in Spain, came back after a year or semester of that, then went to Sac State because I'd already finished my JC, all the JC credits here for my AA, transferred to Sac State, business admin. Like I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I wanted to do business. I knew I wanted to do business of some sort. I didn't know what though. Was it going to be business law? Was it going to be international business? Was it just going to, after this, go to another grad school, go to and get your master's, get your MBA? I didn't know.
Right.
But I applied to a bunch of state schools. Got accepted pretty much all the ones, but at that time, it made sense just to stay close enough that I could be home if I needed to. My grandma was real sick at that time, but far enough away that I was moving. I was leaving. I was like, no, I'm out of here. I was 20 years and like that. I got to go again. So once you leave, because when I moved to Spain at 18, when I came back, I couldn't go back to my parents' house again. It wasn't.
What was your, and not to cut you off, but what was that? How long were you in Spain? Was it a year? Was it 2?
It was like 6 months, I think.
Oh, 6 months. Yeah, okay, so you weren't gone that long.
No, but
what was that like for you how were you? 19, 18? 18. So what was that like for an 18-year-old to be in Spain after being homeschooled? And did you guys travel a lot when you were kids? Did your parents do a lot of traveling?
Yeah, so we did. We had this little motorhome. I remember this. My 7th birthday is when my dad bought this like crummy little, not crummy because it's all we could afford. It was this cool little crummy Jamboree GT. And from like 7 to like 14, that was our vacay, was going in the motorhome, Sugarloaf Ridge, going over, somewhere else.
Camping and stuff.
Made it down to Mexico, what have you. Right around 12, 13, 14 is when my dad real estate career took off to the point where he could take us on a trip. Right. And so that was like the trip to like Europe where we started doing stuff like that once a year or twice a year. And so by the time like 18, I'd been out to Europe a few times with my family, like that, and so it didn't faze me as much as let's go out to Spain. It was an island, Mallorca, so a little island off of Spain. It was still super small, so it wasn't like going from homeschool Napa to like Arizona State, just no. I was Bible college, bro. There was like 5 or 6 of those guys in a little apartment. The church we were studying at was like a few blocks away. It was a sleepy little town on the side of the island.
Okay,
but doing that, and once you leave the house, it's just going back to home. It's your parents' house. Yeah, there's this shift, and it was cool because they also treat you different. It's a different shift. Like you come back, anyways.
Because I have kids. I just want to say this to all the parents out there who are struggling to allow their kids to grow up. Let them grow up.
Kick them the hell out of your house.
I mean, everybody has different methods. I'm not telling you.
Enabling them by not kicking them. The loving thing to do is to kick them out.
Is to let them grow up. And whatever that looks like in your situation, that's what it looks like. But, I just have to throw that little thing in there. So you came back and then you go to Sac State. You finished Sac State.
And then I come back here because SAC
You came back to Napa.
SAC was good, but when I was doing my business degree, I was looking around, and SAC I don't think was the place where I was going to be thriving.
It's not SAC today. Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, I mean, they got some. They're a little bit. They got the stadium downtown. It's kind of popular
that long
today.
ago, but it wasn't that. And that's when I started realizing, okay, I think I want to do real estate. But then, if I'm going to do real estate, why would I stay in Sacramento? Price point, everything like that is different. I don't know it like I know Napa. I'm going to go back to Napa, and then start there. I'm very open to the thought that if it didn't work out, first and foremost, just be humble enough to know it doesn't work out.
Right.
But at the same time, if you work your butt off, I would challenge anybody in any industry. You work your butt off, it's going to work.
Yeah. So So what year was that when you got into real estate?
I got into. I was 23. It was a while ago.
Let's just say
it would have been like 2013.
Okay, 2013.
Yeah, 2013.
Okay.
I think it was 2013.
So how was the market looking then?
We had just finished scraping the bottom.
Yeah, because 08, because that crash happened. That was 5 years before that. Yeah.
Right, and it was interesting actually. This was an interesting thing, being in the crash as my dad was doing real estate. So not being in it. I don't think my dad had some investment properties. I don't think we lost any investment properties. He was very smart about how he held them. But watching the market and being involved with someone whose job relies on the market, right? So my dad's job relied on the market. Mm-hmm. To watch it all crash, I'm super thankful that he didn't just like, whoa, he's a very tempered, very mild-tempered man, just very controlled. And I think that was one of those things that was good because everyone else in the world was freaking out.
Yeah.
And my dad, whose job relies on this, our family's income relies on this,
right,
was like,
I assume your mother didn't work because you were homeschooled,
exactly.
Right?
So she was with us.
Yeah.
And so he was, all right, we pivot. So it's going to look different, and so he worked a little different. We actually, right after I'd probably say 9 or 10 is when he got into buying distressed properties. And so you can buy a distressed property and then
is that the whole
who's cheap labor?
Is that the whole wholesale?
No, not wholesaling.
Okay,
like short sales, but going to the courthouse. So the courthouse, 1:30 p.m. every day at the courthouse, they sell properties that the court has taken back and then stuff for foreclosures.
Okay,
it doesn't happen as much now,
right?
But it was a big deal,
right? And there was a lot of properties probably because of
a ton.
Okay,
and because his knowledge of the market. He could look at the list of what was going to be coming up on the auction. He knew which properties would be worth more if they could do work on them. He knew if I hold this one, we're going to bounce back. It's still Napa, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So we started doing that where he would pick up a property and then after school, what does every 10-year-old or 12-year-old or 13-year-old want to do? Work on a house for cheap labor? This guy.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden he's got free labor. So we're there working on the properties and fixing them up and what have you. But that was a really good time to see, all right, if the industry you're in faces a huge challenge, you don't have to leave the industry, you pivot. Pivot. So now he's doing this. So he's still doing sales, but that wasn't going to put enough food on the table long term. So we did that, and that was great from like 2009 to probably about 2012, 13. Right around then is when the market turned around just enough that those margins weren't there anymore.
Right.
And so I'm getting into real estate.
Right when it's starting to.
Right. Yeah. Oh, if there was a time, if I didn't get back in like the early, maybe mid 90s, this was the next best time to get in.
Okay. So from where you see the market, so a lot of people, this is something to talk about because the real estate, all over the country is just, everything is skyrocketed from, people, a lot of people hate Californians because they leave here and bring their California money and then they quote unquote
it
say
ain't just the money.
Yeah,
They
say they're raising the prices, the prices everywhere else. But so how is the market today with interest rates and like, what do you think is, because everybody's like, are the interest rates going to go back to '08? Is it going to be this, like in your, I know you don't have an inside line or anything,
everybody
but
else is wrong.
Yeah,
what
right.
I'm saying is actually right. No.
What do you think the market is going to do over the next, few years? Okay. There's been a change of administration.
Right.
There's so many things that are happening. So how do you think that affects the market?
Put the administration aside. Let's just look at the smaller kind of like what's going on right now. Interest rates haven't really fluctuated that much in the past year and a half now, almost going on 2 years. We've been sitting around the 7%, mid 6s to 7. That's rough for this generation to accept that that's where we're at because we for a greater chunk of our lives, we're looking at 6 and under.
Yeah, 6 and under.
And then when
my
we started,
mom's first house, she told me it was 18%.
Yeah, my
19%.
grandparents bought it like 19%.
Yeah.
My parents' first was like 10 or 11.
That was in the 80s,
We didn't
though, yeah.
see that, though.
Yeah, we didn't.
What
we don't
we
understand
saw
that.
was like 6, and then we were like seeing 5s, and then by the time we're looking maybe to buy, and I'm saying like we, as in this kind of like the 20s, the 30s, we were looking at these prices going, 4%, 3%.
Yeah.
Oh, what? And then someone's getting 2%.
Yeah.
And it stays for years.
Mm-hmm.
It stays. And then COVID hits, and it stays longer. Stays way longer than the market really decided it was needed to be there, but it was subsidized, so we kept it down. Now that they've gone back up, you have this huge contingency of people that are sitting on the sidelines just waiting for like the interest rate to go back down.
Yeah.
It's supposed to. All indicators say it's going to go down a little. Are we going to see 3% again? I'm not a lender, so don't look at me. I don't think so.
Not anytime
soon. Are we
soon.
going to see 4% again? I almost don't want to, because if we see 3 and 4% again, that means stuff's really bad out there. Do you want a good economy?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's what the question I'm asking, to educate that, because people may be asking for something, but they don't necessarily understand why the rates were that low in the first place. Right. It was to offset all the BS that happened in the economy with the mortgage lending things. But also too, when my mom was buying that house at 19%, the house was only $75,000 or $80,000 or at maybe $100 at best, depending on your neighborhood, right?
Right. And
so now you're looking at,
we're never going to see that.
Yeah, you're looking at $1 million price home, but your interest rates are still high. So how do you,
I don't know how people are really doing it, but I will say this: as far as when I'm talking to when I'm working with buyers now,
I think I asked them myself.
And it happens. Is I look at them and go, look, we have there's inventory in the market. If you can afford it, if you can swing this, not just working to live, not every day is stressful because you have to make your mortgage. If you can afford it, do it now, because the second these interest rates go half a point more, you are going to be competing with a whole other group of buyers that are on the sidelines. Mm-hmm. And if you get a 30-rate fixed loan, it's not going up.
Right.
So if it does go up, what if it goes up? Well, then, okay, it goes up. Then what? The prices may drop down, but those interest rates are going to go up too.
Yeah.
Whereas if they go down and you have a 30-rate, if you have a fixed rate mortgage, well, you can refi when it goes down. There's even some places doing products where they, right now where it's we call it a 2-1 buy down, and by we I mean lenders. I'm not a lender, so again, I'm just saying what I know a little. But where you buy the rate down for 1 year, down 2 points. So you're looking at, like, instead of a 7%, let's go even numbers, 5% the first year, 6% the second year, and then back to market rate the third year. Well, what happens during those 3 years if everything shifts mightily? Refi. And get it to a new lower rate. So if you can afford it, golden time.
Okay.
If you can't, that's fine. Or if you don't plan on being in Napa that long, don't buy.
Yeah.
Whenever I talk with someone,
on Earth, because everywhere's going up. Everywhere's going up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're just getting back to your journey here. You're in the real estate. You're doing that, and is that all you were doing until you got into the cigar life, or what were you? Did you have other like hobbies and things that you were doing?
I mean, work-wise, real estate was it. Before it was hospitality. So thank God we live in such a cool hospitality-driven community, right?
It feeds a lot of people.
Right. So I remember one time I'm playing volleyball, and I had just started doing like catering, right? That was my first job, 16. I bought my car, and I was like, all right, I can get around. So I got a job catering. My older sister was doing catering. Pretty good gig, $12 an hour or something, plus some tips, and you're traveling, whatever. So catered for a year, playing volleyball. My buddy of mine goes, hey, there's a job at the opening, French Laundry. And I'm like, I don't know how to do laundry. I legit had no idea why he was bringing up a French, like a laundry spot while we're playing volleyball. He goes, no, because he worked in the office. He's like, no, you should apply. It's a restaurant. And I'm like, oh, no way, because from where I came up, grew up here in town, our level of money, French Laundry was not a conversation. Yeah. I didn't even know it existed. Yeah. Frankie, Johnny, Luigi's, that was the only spot in Yountville we used to hit a long time ago. But yeah, so I was like, okay. So I go to this office, like I call, I get an interview. I have like long hair because it's like my junior year of high school, senior of high school, kind of got like this long hair.
I just wanted to, it popped in. I don't want to forget. What's the steakhouse on Silverado up when you're leaving? There's a steakhouse up that way.
On Silverado?
Is it on Silver? Like if you're leaving out of Napa and you're going out that back.
Oh, off of Monticello.
Off of Monticello.
Yeah, Corderos.
Okay, 'cause that used to be the big one that everybody used to go to, right?
And before it was Corderos, it was Bayleaf.
Okay.
A few of my buddies in high school worked at Bayleaf, and apparently it was something before Bayleaf.
Okay.
But I'm not that old. So
Yeah, right.
I don't know what it was.
I just go ahead back to your story, but I was thinking because that was like the steakhouse that was like when people that I knew, right? When like we went to Napa, and if it wasn't friend, it was that one. Like
That's Matt Cordero, he owns that one, and then he owns Waterfront.
Oh yeah,
Same owner.
Waterfront. Oh, I love Waterfont.
Same owner.
I go there and I get the Mexican shrimp, the
enchilada,
they're the shrimp, they're called on the menu. It's the Mexican prawns or something.
I was gonna say when Waterfront opened, the chef that from Kohl's opened it with him.
Yeah.
So the chef Jesus had been there a long time. Went over, and so he brought like this great Hispanic flair to like a Waterfront. Yeah, it's a great.
I love Waterfront. Yeah. But okay, back to French Laundry.
Back. So I set up an interview. I go, and they're like, look at me, and I'm like, they're all in suits and stuff. And again, I have no idea what the French Laundry is. I found it's a restaurant. To their amusement, I think I had no idea what I was walking into. And so they're kind of like, well, if you work here, you're gonna have to cut your hair. And I had a goatee at this point. I was 16. Nobody told me the goatee looked terrible until after I cut the goatee off. And then everyone was like, thank God you got rid of that. And I was like, what? And talking about insecurity already about wanting to be normal. And then these people are telling me, oh, that goatee looked terrible the whole time you had it. And so I was like, yeah, sure. Okay. You have to shave, cut my hair. I had another interview. And it was for like the entry level position of just, buffing glasses and stuff like that. So I got that job, and it was great. It was working at the laundry, set the stage of the lens of how I look at the restaurants, the hospitality world. I mean, for
that to be your first one, I know. That's a grand slam, isn't it?
Right,
like,
and I think for them, they're just like, good, we can make you just how we want you.
That's a grand slam in the World Series. Yeah, it's like the biggest stage. Yeah,
right,
for that to be your
first.
Go
after that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you meet Chef Keller?
He was there. So when I was there, had to have been 2008, 2009. He had stepped back. Corey Lee was the CDC at that point.
Okay.
And Keller was executive, but he wasn't like there daily.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I was not getting close to the kitchen.
Yeah.
But no, I was like, I'm front of the house. I'm front of the house for a reason. I don't want to be in back of the house. I'm not a back of the house guy. That's not me. Anyway, so
explain for those people know what's front of the house and back of the house.
Okay, so front of the house are all the people you interact with. Those are your servers, your bussers, your hostess, your bartenders, your food runners, managers. That's front of the house. Back of the house is literally behind those doors. They come through the kitchen, the porters, everything. So you have your line cooks, your prep cooks, your executives. That is all back of the house. And everybody.
And for I've never worked in the restaurant business, but being in Napa in the last few years, what I've learned is that you got to take care of the back of the house. Like it's like you got to make. It's like when the quarterback buys his offensive linemen, brand new cars because he just won the Super Bowl like Tom Brady or something. You know what I mean? Like your back of the house is like your offensive lineman. You gotta, You get that lighter on you? Yeah. You gotta take care of your back of the house.
You have to.
So
they're the backbone of what's going on.
So you're at the French Laundry, and how long were you there?
I was there for a year, and then that's when I went to Spain. Came back, and then a buddy who I'd gotten to know while at the laundry, Ad Hoc opened. Ad Hoc opened while I was gone.
I love Ad Hoc.
And so Ad Hoc had been opened a few months, and I get back, and they're like, hey, you should come work at Ad Hoc instead of French Laundry. And then I went and visited Ad Hoc, and I was like, you're right, I should work at Ad Hoc instead of French Laundry.
Were they doing the fried chicken thing back then too?
Yes.
They were?
It was, at that point, though, we weren't like, maybe it was still like it was every other Monday night, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
And the addendum wasn't there yet, nothing like that.
Okay.
But it was it was such a different vibe, and I hate that word vibe, but it was a different vibe, where lineup was different, work was different, your jeans, Dickies shirt, tennis shoes, and it was this casual environment, but you're bringing top-notch service, and the food's just there every time.
Excellent. Yeah. I love Ad Hoc. Yeah, I love Ad Hoc. So we kind of got on that. You said you doing, so we talked about the real estate. So as you've been in real estate, what was your journey into like the cigar game? And
so, yeah, I'll bring it back. Thank you. Reel it in. I like this. This is good. Bring me back. What we're talking about. So when I was 23, around 23, I get word from a client of mine and one of my best friends, and he's saying, hey, apparently they're open up like this private cigar speakeasy lounge in town. I'm going to keep you up because it sounds like something you are going to want to know about. I said, that sounds like something I'm definitely going to want to know about. And then a few months later, he goes, all right, it's open. I'm a member. but you can't be a member yet because there's already another real estate agent in here. And it's like when it first opened up, because I wasn't the original owner. It was hey, if you're already got someone in that industry, they were trying to kind of diversify the industries. Sean Doherty is the original owner of Side Street. He is a Texas guy. Came up here.
Side Street's the name of
the private lounge.
Okay, the private lounge.
And we've kind of pivoted away from like cigar lounge specific because we have a contingency of our members who don't smoke cigars. They use it for just the private lounge, aspect of that.
Yeah.
So one of our rooms in the front we only have one non-smoking space, and by that it's just the one space. Do not light up your cigar there. Everywhere else in the lounge you can have a cigar.
Okay.
Not that everyone's smoking all the time at all, but it's just you are able to. We're cigar friendly.
Yeah.
That and tobacco pipes, but we don't have a lot of people smoking their tobacco pipes that often.
Yeah.
So Sean came out here, and it was when the riverfront buildings were getting built. So I think 2012, I think is when I started building, finished them out in 2013, 2014. And that used to just be the field right in front of the dock. That's all it was. It was a parking lot and a field, and we used to go fishing off that dock.
Yeah.
And I remember coming back from one of the times from school, like, oh man, they're building something here.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful buildings. So Sean designed with Rebecca Udis was the designer. They designed this lounge, and for him, it was a throwback to his grandpa. It was an homage to his grandpa. His grandpa, growing up when he was younger, his grandpa was an airline pilot, kind of during those Catch Me If You Can days, where pilots were just badass, and they were just like the rock stars. And so his grandpa was a pilot. His grandpa had this study or this office that he would hang out with him, and it was leather, and it was dark woods, and there was velvet, there was books, there was things about Bond. There was this mental image he remembers about this. So when he built the lounge, it was playing off of that. So we have the Bond room, we have a Sinatra room, we have in the main, we call it the Founders Lounge or the Members Lounge. You're hearing nothing but Rat Pack music, and it's just this throwback and just respect to those days. I'm not going to say better days, but I'll say classier days.
Okay.
And the whole lounge is dedicated to that.
Okay. Yeah, that's nice. You talked about the pilot being a rock star. When we were going to Italy, we had a layover in Qatar, and so when we got off the airport, no, was it in Qatar? No, so yeah, but the flight from Qatar went to Italy.
Okay.
So we were waiting in the airport, for all the stuff you got to go through, and the pilots came walking through, and all the stewardess came walking behind him, and it was just like some of the most boss like shit I ever seen. Like, it was so dope. And
when I see him, I'm like, you are so cool.
And to the Qatar Airlines, I tell you, they know how to choose them. They know how to choose them. They know how to choose them. I don't want to make this a misogynistic show, but
no, I'm a Southwest boy myself. I was
me too.
Southwest boy
I've never done any. Yeah, it was like Southwest, maybe United once in a while or something.
Exactly.
But yeah,
and so I'm used to now I'm just used to getting crammed in there, and they throw peanuts at your face.
Yeah.
You want a drink or not? No.
But the service. But I tell you, that was probably, surprisingly enough, Vietnam and Qatar were some of the best service on the airplane I've experienced. It was amazing. It was amazing when we flew. To was it from Vietnam as we were leaving.
Oh, I must have taken a very different flight from
Vietnam. Yeah. Well, I'm traveling, later in my life when my experience is a little better.
23 with a backpack.
Yeah, you were just trying to get on the plane. Yeah.
Oh man. Because I'm trying to remember. I will say, if y'all never have flown internationally, give it a whirl, and it is different because I'm used to, you get in the flight, if anywhere domestic, right? You just get in, you get a drink, a snack, whoop you freaking do.
Yeah.
International, even like, I remember flying Virgin, even China Air, Canada Air, SAP between Portugal. You get in.
SAP. Yeah,
SAP,
we flew
you
that
get
one
in,
too.
and it's like, there's a meal.
Yeah, no, it's laid
a
out.
meal.
Yeah,
you actually get a meal. They have a little bag sometimes with slippers and like and like earplugs, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, Qatar and Vietnam, they laid. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was regular. It wasn't like the first class or business. It was just
but you saw where those people went up on the second.
Yeah. They were.
They
were laid out. Yeah.
Where you walk in and they look at you like, no, you're that way. Oh, you're that way. Oh, you're that way. I was not the second story way.
Yeah.
No.
So he laid out the. You went to the cigar place. You saw it, and this is and I want to kind of just touch on this because this is at the time when all that it was being developed, correct?
It had been built. So it was built out. It was done. It was completed in 13.
Okay.
And opened in 14. So the business opened in 14. So Side Street opened
But just
14.
downtown Napa, like from
Oh,
when you were a kid, like tell me, like for someone, it's like Twilight Zone compared to like today. It's like
Right. I think I have drastic changes, like memories, and then I talked to my mom and my dad, and they're just like almost laughing because I've had a few things change, you know, like now the Cinedome's gone, you know, and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, but do you remember this? I'm like, no, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Like some of you guys know, you know, the North parking lot or Bel Air, right? Now where it's just a hellhole of a parking lot for Trader Joe's and Whole Foods and all that. Well, you guys know where like Nectar is and where Heritage is. That was Bel Air Bowl. We had a bowling alley over there, and then that flooded and erected. It was where Target is. That was Montgomery Ward's, baby.
Montgomery
Ward's. You could get tires. You could get a comforter. You could get a radio.
We're really aging ourselves now. We're only gonna have 65 and over watching this episode talking about Montgomery Ward.
And, you know, for me, it was just like, yeah, of course, that's Montgomery Ward's. Doesn't everyone go and just walk to Montgomery Ward's? No.
Yeah.
I realized my mom, just like to keep us busy. So like, say we were done with our school and noonish, you know.
Yeah.
We lived at that time. We like lived in the lady streets behind what was Valerigus, now Grocery Outlet. We lived back there in the lady streets. So we would take a walk, and we'd walk to Montgomery Ward's to just walk through Montgomery Ward's, just because I liked looking at things.
Yeah.
And then there was a fish store. There was a little plant store over where pizza is pretty much now. And it was like a fish store. So that was like, it's like going to Petco now. I take my little nephews to Petco.
Yeah.
Just for them to look at
just
things.
to look at things,
It buys me 30 minutes of just freaking quiet, you know?
It's better to be an uncle than a no. Let me not say that.
I was like, you're
not
a
to
dad,
be a dad. No. When I'm saying, I know I'm about to say, let me catch myself. No, when I say that, because you could just give him back. That's the part I'm getting at. You could just give him back. So yeah, it is dope because it's
downtown was changing.
See, so it was changing right from when what you knew it to be. The Napa today was starting to become that around 2013.
Because you didn't see. You go on downtown now,
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, during season or something's going on. Like
as long as as long as it's not raining, basically.
Right. Like, and we're doing this in February, January, December. There's the light show.
Yeah.
Weekend, week out, that was just busy down there.
Yeah.
Nobody walked at downtown. No one went to downtown to walk around and just wander.
Just
just
gaze. Yeah.
It was just dead. It was boring. It was county buildings and offices, old buildings, and it wasn't until people started putting some money in. And kudos to all you guys who saw the future there, because what happened is like Calistoga was a big deal. Why the hell was Calistoga a big deal? Because Napa sucked.
Yeah.
There was nothing to do, and then St. Helena became a big deal. So then people aren't going to Calistoga as much, and then Yountville becomes a big deal. So people aren't going to to St. Helena as much. Now Napa is the spot, and rarely now are people passing that to go to Yountville, St. Helena, Calistoga. Their economies are suffering because we've done such a good job. So, sorry, you guys, but do better. You know.
Ouch. I still love it. When I used to come out here before I moved here, I used to go to Calistoga, and I used to go to Buster's Barbecue all the time. Yeah, so that was like when I found out about Buster's, I went out, and that would be like maybe a yearly, maybe twice a year, because you don't live out here. But when you think, but it would always be in the summertime because a nice warm hot day, go get barbecue. Used to hang out, like you say, go to Calistoga, walk around downtown, and then come back.
Cute. I've got a listing up there right now, so like I cherish that I get to go up to Calistoga right now for work, because if it wasn't for work, I just wouldn't think about, oh, let's go to Calistoga today.
Yeah.
It's just kind of too far. Why? For good food? Well, I've got good food in Napa.
Yeah, you got good food
wine.
around
We've
the
got
corner.
good wine everywhere.
So
it is a place to kind of get away now, though, from it all.
Yeah, from it all. Yeah, right. So then with that change, what, and not just the businesses, what have you seen a change in the community since all this new development? What has been from your perspective?
It's interesting, right? Because my perspective is only based on I wasn't of drinking age or going out and eating age or going out and hanging out age when Napa wasn't this.
Yeah.
So it was inconsequential, whatever. Didn't matter to me. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about, people talk about the bars that are disappeared and stuff like that down by the river, or some of it was tomfooleries and other stuff.
I hear about that one. I've never been there, but I hear about that
I wasn't drinking at that
one.
point, so it didn't matter. So I don't know what it really was going on before that. So now when I see the change, there's always been an economy here of food and of wine, and I think we went hard at it, hard at it. So now we're almost like, I feel like we're tapping it, just not tapping it dry.
Yeah.
But wine bars, great. It amazes me that they all survive, and they don't all survive because they'll disappear. You know, walk down one day and you're like, oh, that one's gone now.
Yeah.
That's a new one.
That's a new one. Yeah.
That's a new one. You know, same with restaurants. I think restaurants do tend to do a little better, I think, than the wine bars. Are just based on totally outside opinion, right? Like, I don't know. This is no stat. But I've seen Napa grow up, but it's grown up to accommodate a very specific demographic. As a local, I'm not mad about it because that's my demographic where I'm at currently in life.
Okay.
I don't have kids.
Yeah.
I work my butt off. And I love going out and having good food, good wine, meeting friends downtown. So this is like, if Napa was made for me at this point.
At this stage of your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me where I'm looking at, like, my parents are kind of like, yeah, we like going out, but you know what my dad loves doing more than... He loves leaving town. And not only that, get this. My dad will now not tell me where my mom and him like going, because he told me verbatim, no, because you and your friends are going to ruin it. That was what he told me.
Wow.
Because he likes going out and finding new little spots. So they leave town. A lot of people do. Just, around the other parts of the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Going to Benicia and Vallejo and stuff like that, and kind of finding spots that aren't, much. But Napa is literally made for my demographic right now.
Right now.
I drink, I eat, and I make money to afford doing that.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
Me too. I love it too.
It.
It's kind of like it's almost like I feel like that survivor's guilt sometimes thing. Like, damn, I get to just go downtown and eat somewhere. The bartender knows me. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, hey, Jeremy, welcome back. And then they're pouring me my drink. I don't even have that. Sometimes I don't even have to say with the drink. Or they're suggesting,
That's a good thing, though.
Do you want to? No, it's a great thing, right?
Great thing.
It's like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? I love it. So, yeah, I love it. So, and I just wanted that perspective from someone who, like, grew up here, because I didn't grow up here, so.
And do I said, hopefully, I'll have kids and family and stuff like that. And even that, I see that pivot not being that drastic. Because where I live is great neighborhood for that. And the school's close by, and parks, and there's plenty. I do a lot of outdoor stuff, and there's plenty of outdoor stuff here to do. I still think that it's not kid prohibitive. There's plenty you can still do with kids here too. So there's that. And then I also can't wait. Like, I'm already looking to when I'm older and the kids are gone. I love golfing. I love and then we're back to the food.
You're back. Yeah, back to the
then
food
I'm right
again.
back to where I am now. Just kind of thing. But just at a different stage in life. I think that the people that are maybe not loving this as much are those who do not. And I'm not saying they don't enjoy it because they're ignorant. No. That's just not their thing. Food and wine is just not their thing.
Right.
That's fine. That's totally fine. This is a tough place to be if you don't love what drives this place.
Right. So are you willing to touch on that kind of? I don't know if it's a generational shift of, like, people don't like what's happening here to there's people who love it, or just what's your thought about that?
I think it's natural to not like something that doesn't benefit you.
That's a good way. to
right. I mean, just because if something's happening outside. And let's say they built a skate park across the street from my house.
Yeah.
If I was into skating,
I'm
great. Pumped.
Yeah.
I'm stoked. If I'm not into skating,
now I gotta see these little kids
right,
in
then
baggy
like,
jeans.
So Napa
It's
shifted
like,
in a way that for some people, this is everything we ever wanted. And for other people, like, I'm not really into this. So they could take it or leave it. If to them, they think it's just more traffic. And I get it. Like, I'm sympathetic to that point of view because I know it's not for everybody. Napa isn't crazy diverse in what it has to offer. Right. We do a few things and we do them damn well.
You do real good. Yeah.
I'm sorry, real well.
No, it's okay. No worries at all, man. So you're at the back to the cigar. So you're running this. You're running the cigar. You
not yet. So so I joined. They finally let me in.
Okay.
Yeah, finally get in. I get in. It was still in the.
You have to do an initiation process with that to jump you in the back or something.
We don't talk about that. Okay. Let's just say being homeschooled didn't help.
Yeah, okay.
So I get in. I'm a member, and youngest member. I think I'm still the youngest member. Rick's older than me, so yeah, I think I'm still the youngest member.
Okay.
But I was definitely the youngest member then.
At the time.
A lot of people confused as to, like, why are you into this old man thing? I'm like, it's not for old men. This is for people that care. We could talk about these later because I get so excited when you start talking.
Talk about it, man. Talk about it. Yeah.
So become a member, enjoy it. This place is like a second home to me, and that's the whole point. Is this thing's like an extension of your living room. Use it that way. Bring your friends. Bring your family. Dude, I've had cigars there with my grandpa, with all my uncles, with my dad, with my brother, with my best friends, everybody in my life has been there with me. And it's like, I want to sit there with my son on his 18th birthday and have a cigar. I want to sit there with my grandkids and have cigars. That I don't want this thing to disappear. So the reason we took over, so a few years ago, the original owner, John, was moving. So his thought was, okay, either sell it or close it down. Well, selling it, he kind of started to mention some of the names that had expressed interest in purchasing it. And I was like, oh, hell no, because they're going to change it. They're going to change it, and it's going to change the whole feel of the place and just the lifeblood of what makes this thing so cool. So then he's like, well, then you buy it. I was like, oh, no. Whoa.
Ouch.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't mean that.
Yeah, I got to
okay?
sell more houses.
I just wanted to complain, okay? I didn't want to have a solution. And he goes, well, talk to a few of the other guys. So I talked to a few of the other members, and we get a group of members who are all have the same sentiment towards it. We don't want to lose this place. So put a little group together, and we buy the place. And we've been running it since end of 2020-ish, right around there, 21. So let's just say 3-4 years, and it's been awesome. I mean, we don't make money or anything like that, so this wasn't. This is a passion project.
Yeah.
I get to lose money in style.
Yeah. It's a good way to lose some money.
It hurts less when it looks really good. I guess, sort of.
So okay, so now you're there, and this is what you're doing along with your real estate, and you run this place, and you are basically you oversee the place, correct?
Right. Technically, I have the managing partner is like the label because there's a group of us. But it just means that at the end of the day, I'm responsible for the place.
Yeah.
So I mean, when it comes down to like today, I was there changing a light bulb in the freezer because the freezer bulb went out. You know what? That's something I can do. Yesterday, I was there because
that's the non-sexy stuff that you're doing
exactly.
in there.
Our little thing to open the door stopped working. Well, guess who was there? Hey, our Wi-Fi went out last week. Guess who was there? It's it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I love walking in there and seeing members. Hey, how you doing? So and so catching up. Hey, catching up. Hey, so and so introduced. I'm there last night. I was there last night working almost till like 11. And some members come in. They were celebrating their birthday and being able to say, "Hey, happy birthday!" Like that. It's just such a cool community of people, and we all care about having a space that we respect. It's off the beaten path, off the grid, and it's like home. It's home outside of home.
Okay.
And you go there to watch the games. We go there, just have a meal. I've sat there and cried with some of my best friends. Sat there and congratulated and celebrate things there. It's become a spot we just want to be. Like, just want to be there.
So that sounds amazing. So tell me a little bit about the cigars that you like. What do you like to smoke? One thing that I do know is that whenever you say cigars, the first thing everybody says is Cuban, right? And what I've learned in my journey, and I want to take this moment to shout out my Uncle Michael, who passed away in December of last year, 2024. And he was the first person, well, it was my grandfather, but I think by the time I really remember, he wasn't really smoking as much when I got older. But my Uncle Michael was the first person that introduced me to cigars. And we would sit in my grandmother's garage. So he was a truck driver. And he used to drive the United truck vans and cross country all the day. But when he used to come home, it was before there were cell phones. There was like a pigeon that went out to all the cousins because he was childless and he had, he used to drive. So when he came home, we would all try to get next to him because he would like pay us to like clean out his truck. And he took me to take us to Marine World. Like he was just that uncle,
like the
right?
Fun uncle.
Yeah, he was the fun uncle, right? Yeah. No kids. So we were like his kids.
Yep.
And so he would come into the garage and that was the first time that I really got introduced. That was the first time I smoked a cigar. Was with my uncle, and it was in my grandmother's garage. So, and by him, this is, I don't want to get choked up about it, but I love that man, so I dedicate this episode to him because he was the first time that I smoked a cigar when I really started to like cigar, but I was just too young and broke for it to be a passion of mine, right? Yeah. But as I got into my later years and I started, especially when I moved out here to Napa, I went to the cigar lounge over there.
Napa Cigar.
Yeah, Napa Cigars.
Shout out to Eric.
Yeah,
his crew.
Yeah, I love those guys over there. And there's this little motley crew of guys that are always in the front of the cigar lounge, Napa Cigars, right? And you come in and it's funny when you first come into a place. It's like they're all looking at you, right? They're all looking at you like, all right, it's a new face. Then you come in again and you sit down and you're just talking. You just start talking to people, right? And you just start engaging in conversations and So they're just in there to smoke cigars, talk shit, look at sports on TV, and politic and whatever it is that you do in there, right? And everybody kind of has their section. Of course, in the front they have their names on it and everything. The old heads, and so shout out to the Motley Crew, the old heads over there in Napa Cigars. But but my Uncle Michael, man, he was the first one that I actually
better. I'm sorry, Eric. I was choking. I'm
sorry. He was choking. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was able to take my uncle there I don't know if it was last year or 23 in 2023, and I was able to take him there. We had a cigar. He was in town, and that was, matter of fact, that was the last time that we hung out. And I didn't see him because he lived in Arizona. So when he went back,
have that.
I had that. That was the last time. So it was like full circle. Like he came in and I ate with it. We ate. I took him to
Tell me it was Scala, bro.
No, it wasn't Scala. I don't even know if Scala was open yet. It might have been open, but we went to what's the one over there back behind Compline?
Kitchen Door?
Kitchen Door.
Yeah.
We went to Kitchen Door.
Great meal.
I love Kitchen Door. You know what I mean?
I just had the best old fashioned there a few days ago.
Oh, okay.
Every now and then when you're that was damn good.
I'm gonna get back to the old fashioned in a second.
Okay,
but so we went to Kitchen Door, ate, and then we went to the cigar lounge and we smoked, and that was the last time I hung out with him. So that it just meant a lot to me. And I had to throw that in there because even though he's not here, I know he's watching, and I just wanted to shout that out to my uncle.
Got podcasts in heaven?
Maybe maybe that's where all the prophets come from. They podcast and then they come out here and tell us about God.
That's cool though. You had that. I was say so. Funny with my grandpa, he smoked cigars, but they didn't so my grandma and him did not. So this is on my mom's side, Dutch side. Everyone smokes. Everyone smokes cigarettes in Holland. They came over here in '57. Everyone still smokes cigarettes. Everyone does that. My favorite photo I have of my grandma had to have been mid '60s, early '60s, poolside because they're all someone's pool, bikini, Prego. And her ashtrays right here, just sitting on her belly.
What? No, that's so funny.
And I was like, and that was normal, and it was fine. And you know what? Everyone ended up just freaking fine.
You know what's funny? So this is how we're aging ourselves. This is before secondhand smoke was a thing, right? No, so literally my
secondhand
brother.
Smoke was just the air you were in.
There's
everywhere.
a picture of my brother. My brother, he's 9 years older than me, so. There's a picture of my brother, my grandfather. My grandfather's holding my brother as a baby. There's a picture. He's holding him like this, and he had a cigar. And so my brother had asthma, right, all his life. So one day, but this was now, mind you, we were at my parents' house, and one day we're, parents, they have, you go to they pull out old photos.
Yeah.
It was just one of those days.
Yeah.
And we saw that picture, and we just busted out laughing because he was like, that's probably where my asthma came from, right? We didn't know that, right?
You didn't know.
Man, he's alive, doing well. He doesn't even have it now, but right.
My brother used to have asthma. And that no one smoked.
No one smoked. So that's that's a whole other thing. But
so throwback. So everyone smoked, right? And when they had kids, after the kids were born, apparently my grandma and grandpa were, all right, we're not smoking anymore. So I never saw my grandpa ever smoke. It was my dad who had the cigar, and even then it was like once a year. So it wasn't like I was around.
It was only celebratory, right?
Exactly.
It was a big thing. Like you just had a baby. Here's a cigar.
Deal. It was
right.
I remember because I'd be inside and I'd see him outside. So smoking a cigar, and it was be with him and one of his buddies, and it was only when that buddy would visit, when it was a really good, so it was very special. It wasn't all the time. Now it's like, whatever. But so I saw that. Now my grandpa didn't smoke at all. Get this, probably about 7, 8 years ago, we were doing a little family houseboat trip up at Shasta. Great time. I have cigars with me. Why not? And my grandpa, was just about almost 80 at that point, and he was like, "Oh, that smells good." I was like, "Opa, hey, you want a cigar?" No, I haven't smoked in a long time. Like, I didn't want to say, "Well, like, bro, what, you're gonna cut a day off your life at this point?"
Yeah, right.
Like, come on, like, if you want a cigar or not,
Yeah, smoke that. Yeah.
So he had a cigar with us. Thoroughly enjoyed it. This guy smokes like 10 cigars a day now. Has been. And now and he just he smokes more cigars than I do. And he's back in it. He's back strong, back in the cigar smoking world.
Yeah.
He buys, first he was buying like a pack like once a month, like a box, like 20s like that once a month. He now is having me order him like the hundreds. I'm good. I mean, save yourself time for later. Come on. And so I got him back into it. I don't feel bad just yet, because he's still healthy as all get out and what have you. But I'm glad that your grandpa got you into it, and I got my grandpa back into it.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, I don't know.
But back to my question.
Okay.
I talked about Cubans. Everybody starts with Cuban.
All right, yeah.
So give us with your knowledge. What makes a good cigar? Good cigar. What makes what is it? I know different countries, different the wrapping
thank you for
of it.
qualifying too with my knowledge, because my knowledge, if you actually know cigars and listening right now, just
Yeah,
skip
this is not a
ahead of it.
professional expert. Yeah,
this is you know nothing, because if you know nothing, I'm going to sound really good right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so cigar tobacco. The reason first and foremost we think of Cuba is that was where it got big. There were people doing cigars stateside, but tobacco was all coming from Cuba, and it just was. It was one of those things you didn't even ask. Like when whiskey was always coming from Kentucky, it's like it just was. Now there's more history too, specifically why, what have you. Pre-embargo, Cuban cigars just were cigars. You almost didn't have to specify Cuban.
Okay.
It was just cigars.
Uh-huh.
And it goes without saying it was from Cuba.
Okay.
Just a month ago, I got to go to Tampa and go check out one of the old factories. And I was down in, oh my gosh, I'm going to butcher the name, so I'm not going to say it right now. I'll think of the name of the neighborhood. But it was like, Tampa's called Cigar City because that's where all the
Tampa
tobacco.
Bay, Florida.
Yeah, Tampa Bay,
Okay,
Florida.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so all the tobacco would come into Tampa, and that's where there was more than, at some point it was like 1,200 different manufacturers that were there cranking out cigars. But everything was coming from Cuba. Now, embargo happens, right? Bam. What did I say earlier? You have to shift. You have to pivot. Okay, so people pivot. A lot of people now, what happened is they take seed. They take just like you have a pack of seeds for your tomatoes you like or blah, blah, blah. So they took tobacco seeds and they went to other countries because their life wasn't the same with Fidel and all that going on. So now they're growing it in other countries. Nicaragua, Honduras, Ecuador, Dominican Republic. All of a sudden now are producing, because if you look at the map, they're very similar, right?
Still South America, though. Still very strong in South America.
And when it comes to we talk about latitude, longitude, they are right along the same area there. The same reason, like, why do we have the same kind of wine growing techniques or wine growing stuff as like France and Spain? Because we're kind of on the same when it comes to our type of atmosphere and our climate. Down there, it's all very, very similar. So they take seed, and so now we have tobacco coming from multiple countries. We also have tobacco growing here. The tobacco we grow here, though, very different. Very, very different, and it's not used a lot. There's I think that J.C. Newman does one cigar, that is all American tobacco. Okay. That's it. Because there's other tobaccos that just have some better flavor. So let's put aside what countries they come from. What's cool is when you get into the tobacco world and cigar world, you start to realize it's super similar to wine growing, where we care about sun orientation. They care about rainfall. They care about the soil, the terroir. So you're now talking about this field versus that field. The same way we talk about blocks, the same way we talk about rows, and this is a single row. They do. They'll do that very similar with cigar tobacco. It's amazing. And so every cigar, you may or may not know this. It's not just they just take some leaves and it goes like the labor of love. It doesn't encapsulate, kind of like wine. You just drink wine. You don't think about the winemaker who gave up sleep for months on end. They
give up a lot of sleep.
And the cellar crew that worked with it.
Yeah.
And then all oh my gosh, not to speak, all the vineyard workers. Everyone that went into it, you just kind of don't look at that. And I balk it like it's $20-something a glass. Get out of here. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. What it took to get here.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you appreciate it way more. Cigars are 3 tobaccos combined. There's 3 parts. So there's the middle is called your filler. That's going to be the most of the tobacco, right? There's your filler, and that looks raw and rough. And when there's stuff in the filler, that's when these leaves are just crumpling, rolling them up, and they put them in these molds. And the molds get weighted down, so they're kind of similar shaped. And then you have a gal that then wraps it with the wrapper. Binder. The binder goes over the filler, and then you have the wrapper on top of that. So you have 3 different tobacco. Now those 3 different leaves, more than likely, are not the same tobacco leaf. Not the same family, possibly not the same country, more than likely not the same country, and not the same area from the country. So when you have a master blender who's going through and blending cigars, he's picking out multiple tobaccos for a single cigar. And it's almost like what would you call it? I guess in wine, if I'm not even going to say names, let's just say Winery A has a cuvee, a blend, a red blend that people like because it tastes like the same thing every single time. So it's not going to be the same mixture every time. It's not going to be the same amount of Merlot to Cab to whatever.
Yeah.
They'll do the same thing. So this is the Florentino by Casa Cuba. There's a taste that they will go for this one. So when I smoke another box of these next year or 2 years from now, they should be somewhat similar because they're going to try to blend for it to taste the same.
Okay.
Versus if you get a cab, Napa cab, and they go, hey, this is a 2020, and so we had the fire that year, this, that, and it's going to have a little flavor here, but this is 2020 cab. So whatever it tastes like is the best representation of the grape this year, what have you. This, they more than likely they blend to try to recreate the flavors they like. But you're talking about blending. Holy smokes. Not only, get this, so it's not only tobacco from 3 different places. The tobacco plant has 3 main parts of the plant. And the leaves, and you have the top and the smallest leaves, and then the middle, they're a little more broad, and then the super broad leaf at the bottom. Top has the most concentrated flavor, the middle is kind of medium, the bottom is with filler, and it's more, they use that more for the filler. And you have to blend those two. Like the art that goes into it blows my mind. That's not scratching the surface. I don't know jack blank about it when he really gets into the depth of it. But then to have a cigar, and you light it, and it burns perfectly, and you picking up notes, and you go like, oh man, so this, this is a Nicaraguan cigar. It's Nicaraguan through and through. So all 3 of these tobaccos are Nicaraguan. But you get ones that will be a Nicaraguan wrapper or a Sumatra wrapper, and then it could be a Dominican filler and a Dominican binder. And you start to find out what tobaccos you like. Yeah. Now, Cuban, it's damn good tobacco. It's not the best. It's not the only.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's kind of like what I was getting at, because a lot of people say, oh, I got a Cuban, and they feel like they have the upper echelon, but there's the whole backstory to why the Cubans have that reputation, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best, excuse me, the best in the industry, in the world of cigars.
Right. Yeah. No, so I've 2 buddies of mine, Jesse and Steve, and they've done documentaries called Hand Rolled, and it's all about cigars, and their cigar knowledge, I mean, just is insane. And in talking to them, it's almost like ignorance is bliss. I would have rather not known the crummy side of it all. But when they're talking about Cuban cigars now, hey, you're a communist regime. Government runs that. So more than likely, let's see if I can fit here. The government's going to own most of the tobacco. They own all of it, and they give you back a little. They're choosing what Partagas is getting. They're choosing what Montecristo is getting. They're choosing. It's not the same art anymore. It's not the master blender going through. It's that. Don't get me started. China now owns a majority of the percentage now of distribution, blah, blah. So they're harder to get. So people still usually equate quality with the exclusiveness of it.
That's not the case.
You ask any aficionado about cigars, yes, there's going to be people that will still swear by Cubans. But if you're going to be honest about it, say, so there's nothing that comparable.
So what's a good brand? What's a good brand out there? Let's say, hey, I come into your place, or I come into any cigar bar, any place, and I say, I'm taking my son. This is his first cigar. What would you suggest? Like, how would you break the ice into someone?
Do you like this son?
Do I like the
son?
son?
Do you like this son? Is this a good son? How much you want to spend on this son? Is this a good son?
So one of the things I always say is what I've learned about since I've been living out here. Now that I know enough about wine now, like I'm not an expert, but I know enough.
You're ruined.
Well, that part too. It has ruined it, but I also know how much someone likes me based on what they pull out. Right? So when I see when they go, oh, come over, and I see what they're pulling out, and I might just act like, I don't know, but I'm like, no, this person likes me. They pulled out some Screaming Eagle or some Opus or something. You know what I mean?
Those are the good friends.
Yeah, those are good friends. Yeah. Well, okay, so but it's in the cigar world. But yeah, I really love my son.
You always have your burners.
Yeah, my son just graduated college. He's sum cum laude. I'm like, we want to celebrate. What are we? What's the first? What are you gonna get him?
Because are you honestly on a 21st birthday? Are you gonna give a kid a glass of Screaming Eagle and say,
why not?
Enjoy. He doesn't know.
Yeah, but you know what?
Lie to him. Say it's Screaming Eagle. Pour him some.
No, that's what you do on the first date. That's what you do on the first date. Yeah, I want my son to taste. I want him to taste the best from the onset. So anything after that, any experience after that is like, hey, that didn't live up to the. You know what I mean?
Okay, fair. I would go first cigar, Davidoff. Okay. Davidoff has made what might be the smoothest, nuttiest, creamiest cigar you can start with. I mean, this is one, they're expensive. They know it. They know they have a damn good product. But for your first cigar or bringing someone into the cigar world, maybe they've just smoked backwoods, hey, there's a time
Black and
place.
Miles.
There's a time and a place.
Black and Miles and Tampa's.
There's a time and a place that, that works. But if you're really trying to get him into something, going, there's something nicer here, and don't start with the freaking Sumatra wrapper, Maduro. Not that they're always stronger, but start with a Dominican. Dominican tobacco is a little more mild, in my experience. I don't need people coming at me here, but in my experience, Dominican tobacco is more mild. That and a coffee.
And a coffee,
Bro.
Well, interesting. I never did it with coffee.
Oh.
Now I'm gonna go do that literally tonight. After,
Dude,
after I talk to you,
cigars and coffee.
Yeah.
There's nothing like. There's an old saying: "What goes with it, what grows with it,
what grows with it goes with it."
Coffee.
That makes sense.
Coffee first. I mean, if you eventually you get to morning cigars, when you're deep in the rabbit hole of cigars, you start having morning cigars. It's like this. I have this like little hot tub in the backyard, and it's nice and cold and crisp in the morning. You get a good coffee. Make a latte. A little mini espresso, make a honey latte, so it's got a little bit of sweetness to it, a little bit of creaminess to it. You pair that with a nice, light, earthy cigar. There is nothing. Any alcohol doesn't, personal opinion, doesn't compare like a good coffee does with cigar.
You know, on my next day off, I think I'm gonna go down to Naysayers and give me a coffee, and then go back to the house and smoke me a cigar. Then my next morning,
it is something
I think I'm
like,
gonna do that.
Make it creamy. If you go with something super acidic, that doesn't play well. It's got to be so. Like if you're doing like a pour over, take out the paper filter so you get the fat from the bean or something like that. But really, I think like a latte, like not super heavy on the milk, honey latte, and a cigar.
Okay. Yeah.
It's going to open you up to something totally different, and it's nice because maybe you don't want a whiskey at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Maybe you do.
We're not judging.
Are we camping?
Yeah.
Where are we home? What are we doing? But
do you really need a reason?
Are we out in the duck blind? It's different. But I'd say coffee and cigar that changed the game for me because there's something about that.
What was it? So what's so interesting? Getting into the world of wine, right, and just being in the valley, it's opened up my experience to pairing things, no matter what it is. So I had a Psalm. He came by the shop one day and he said he was talking about milk with spaghetti. Don't ask me. Don't ask me. But because in that world of
let's all agree Psalms are a little weird. Okay, let's just agree here for a second.
I still haven't tried it because I still can't bring myself to do it.
It's spaghetti and milk.
But he was saying,
Buddy the Elf?
But he was saying the pairing with the spaghetti and the flavor and the sauces and the way in milk and how it's made. This the pairing of it. But not to harp on that. But the reason why I'm saying that is because now
you just said that just to see if you would do it. And
well, no. When my coworker, he told me, my boy G, he was like, no, I did it. He loved it, right?
Okay.
I still haven't done it because in my head, I'm still thinking gross. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe my mind with my, my taste buds aren't connecting that yet. But I am going to try it. I think I might try it soon, just for the hell of it now. But the point I'm saying is that I'm learning different pairing options or varieties that I just didn't know. I just wasn't privy to the information before, so it changes that. Yeah, so I never heard that. Nobody's the first time I ever heard coffee with a cigar.
People talk about wine and cigars.
Yeah, it's okay, but I'm not a wine cigar guy. Yeah,
I don't.
Unless I'm already like lit and I want to slow it down. Yeah,
you're like a whatever guy.
Yeah. It's like whatever. Yeah, but yeah.
That's when you have milk and spaghetti.
Yeah,
that's what.
I was supposed to be milk and cookies. That's what.
No, okay, so wine and cigar, and some people will come at me. That's fine. It all comes down to your personal palate. But I don't see wine, and when I say wine, I'm generalizing reds, big reds, whites.
Yeah, bold. Like,
them and cigars just don't go as well as other things. So why do it if it doesn't go as well as other things? One of the oldest pairings with cigars, champagne. Why? Well, there's acidity and alkalinity. There's a toastiness, like the brioche-ness of champagne goes well with a nice light cigar. Okay, I'm with you there. A big bold cab? No, you're just inviting two huge, dominant, massive flavors and saying play nice.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Doesn't work.
Fortified, totally different situation. Nice port? Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. But with a cigar, you're talking your browns, your rums, your bourbons,
whiskey,
your ryes,
your
bourbon.
Scotch. Yeah.
I even go Irish whiskey, Japanese whiskey, abso-freaking-lutely. But if you're going to do it right. Now again, if you love a Napa cab and a cigar, more power to you. Don't pour it for me. I'm not going to love it, but that's fine. I'll get myself a whiskey or a coffee or something totally different.
Yeah.
But there's something you have to explore that part.
Yeah.
And because I do meet a lot of people, like, how often do you go to pour someone, hey, you want whiskey? And they go, oh, no, I don't drink whiskey. You're like, well, this one time. And I'm like, well, yeah, if you ruined it based on one time with a bad whiskey and a bad experience,
Yeah.
give it a shot.
Yeah.
Let's try something different here.
To this day, I don't like gin because that was my first hangover. That was my, so I'm like, yeah, I don't, you know, and it was interesting enough as I drank it, but as I got older, it just like gin, it's just associated with that. So I just don't like gin.
It's
my,
totally fair.
Yeah.
Totally fair. So what I love doing is trying
But
to
I've had hangovers on so many other drinks, but I still drink them.
Like, yeah, but it didn't count.
Yeah, they
Somehow
don't count.
it didn't
Your
count.
first one is always like the most memorable one.
I try to bring people back and I'm going, just try it. Just try. If you don't like it, no harm, no foul. Going back to when you asked me the cigars, first time, blah, 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 I have a decent chunk of cigars that I don't mind if you take a puff and throw it away. I have other cigars, you take a puff and throw it away, I'm probably going to smack you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but that goes back
some
to
respect on
knowing what someone gives you, right? So,
Yeah.
like, if a buddy comes over who's a big cigar guy, he knows, I'm like, dude, just go to the humidor, grab what, I've got hundreds in there. Grab whatever, because I know he's going to pick something he likes. If someone doesn't know, they're not getting close to that humidor. I'm like, no, I'm going to go grab you something, because if you don't know what you're smoking, pearls before swine. I don't want to just throw it out there and you not enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, you could do it wrong. You could have a great cigar and smoke it wrong and not enjoy it, and that would be heartbreaking.
Yeah. So that's like kind of like the enter into like I feel like in all these worlds, right? You need to have somebody who's kind of seasoned that introduces you to these things. So then they kind of tell you, but like when I first was smoking a cigar and it was running on one side and I wasn't tripping in, and my uncle was like, no, you gotta spin it, turn it, you burn it. It's the way you light it. It's a thing, right?
It is.
It's just like looking at the wine glass and, staring at it and smelling it and all those kind of things. Right. So yeah, that's interesting.
You need someone who cares enough to talk it through with you, and you have to be willing to put up with some shit. Like if someone's teasing you, I'm like, really? That's what you're doing? Yeah, of course. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like we're having fun with it.
Yeah.
But you will not meet anyone else. Like, when people get excited about their stuff and they want to share it, cigar people, dude. Cigars, if you walk into a lounge, like you're saying, you walk in again, you have a cigar, that group is all of a sudden, those are your guys.
Yeah.
Because you all have that thing in common, cigars. It ties people together. There are so many nights with my family, with my friends, where what I remember is when we were all sitting down, having cigars after a beautiful dinner and something like that. It was just the ribbon. It was the bow on top of everything. The cherry on top was our time having cigars and just talking.
Yeah.
I am jealous of that time. I covet that time because rarely do I just sit down and do this.
Yeah.
And if I do sit down and do this, it's with a cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's pivot a little bit.
Let's go.
You talked about your journey with, growing up and jumped into college and real estate and homeschool and all those things, cigars, obviously. What is the Valley in your life and all your experiences? How has it shaped you into who Josh is today? Like what are those experiences at this moment? How have all those things developed you to become who the man you are today? And also, this is going to be kind of two parts.
That's fine. Not
only the man who you are, but what you think about like being a man.
Damn. Okay. Okay. I would say, so Napa's played into who I am because of what's been available here. So growing up, I'm the homeschool, being around the family, so I value family. I value that time. I value those connections. I spent a lot of time outdoors because you know what? You get bored as hell, and there's not much to do inside when you're not. We didn't have video games. We weren't really allowed to watch TV or something. So you know what? I'm gonna go find a stick and hit things outside. I don't know. Spent a lot of time outside.
Yeah.
Turns out I love being in the outdoors.
Yeah.
And so that's played into that. Napa has such a cool mix of outdoor, rural. Like
a lot of hiking trails.
Well, the history of Napa is we're a bunch of farmers.
Yeah.
Before vineyards, it was prunes and apricots and almonds. Before that, I live in Browns Valley. What was Browns Valley? The Browns family was a German family that had a bunch of cows. It was all pasture land.
Okay.
Like everything came back to ag at some point, right?
It's an agricultural town.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
And so there's still that blood just runs through the veins of ag. And so I'd love spending time outside, and there's all the hiking, there's all this, and if I'm ever fortunate enough to have I don't know if I'm gonna have a vineyard. Let's be real. I want acreage. I'm gonna buy hundreds of acres so I can hunt and I can be alone. But I'm not gonna do vineyards. I see that.
That's a whole different beast.
I like losing money. I don't like losing money that much.
Yeah.
So let's not do that. But it shifted as Napa shifted. I was growing up, and I was able to move with it. So as I started to be able to drink, well, I learned about the wine, and I got to appreciate that part of Napa. As I worked in the hospitality industry, I started to love food. My mom wasn't a great cook, so I didn't really grow up loving food. And I'm sorry, Mom, if you're not gonna. She doesn't even have social media, so I'm fine. She has no idea.
Mine doesn't either.
She has no idea.
But if somebody's gonna send her the video if I say something wrong,
I can be real about
like,
this.
you know what your son said? Yeah.
Bless her heart. We didn't have much, so we did we had a garden in the back, and we used a lot of garden. We used a lot of stuff from. We didn't have much, so she did what she could. I didn't grow up really being excited about food because it wasn't that great.
Right.
And then started working in the hospitality industry, and I realized, holy smokes, food's actually really good. And so I shifted into loving food and all this. So Napa, by default, I'm into wine and food because I stayed here. I stuck around for this. I bought in to what Napa is. Mm-hmm. You have contingency of my friends after high school, they're gone because this isn't their thing. And they'd rather raise their kids elsewhere and do other stuff, and more power to them. I get it.
Yeah.
I thoroughly get it.
Yeah.
This is my thing, though.
Yeah.
So that's like Napa's played into like who I am now. And then work-wise, I mean, real estate, this is not a bad place to conduct real estate. Mm-hmm. It's a transactional business. I get that, but my clients are awesome. And I get to know amazing people and then take them out to places and share them. Mm-hmm. And then I get to, people come up from the South Bay and the East Bay, and they've vacationed in Napa, but they've never thought about living in Napa. Now they're also like, well, why not? Because we're the steal of the Bay Area, bro. Our prices here compared to South Bay, East Bay, Marin, Sonoma, all that, we are cheap.
Yeah.
Which is bonkers.
Yeah.
If you're an old person looking around going,
like cheap.
This is cheap. This is cheap.
Yeah, it's California cheap.
This is cheap. The same 3.2 Bel Air 3.2 that's going to be 7 or 8 now. In most other areas is like 1.2, 1.3. Yeah. Just because it's in a safe, good, solid neighborhood and what have you.
Right.
So that's Napa shaped that. Now the being the man part, I think that goes back more to influences, right? That goes back more to my father. My father came from Mexico and he was like 12, right around 10, 11, 12, right around there. He came from Mexico, not with very, very, very little. Didn't have a dad, no father figure. Built up his own business, was one hell of a father for not knowing what a father looked like, right? And I, to this day, like, Nessie, now I'm going to get choked. I'm not going to like that. To this day, I don't know how he did. Yeah. Because we use the excuse of, well, I don't know what to do this, or I don't know because I never saw. Well, he never saw a father. Mm-hmm. You know what? He was one hell of a father. Uh-huh. One hell of a father. My mom's not a teacher. She graduated high school. Yeah. And she was a good student. Yeah. And then to take on the responsibility of, okay, well then school these kids. Mm. She felt inadequate at times, but then to recognize, no, like, I can do this.
She put it, yeah.
I can, I can raise a kid, and I'll raise a kid, teach a kid through at least what I did. Mm-hmm. Going back when she still laughs when like we were doing like algebra 2 and stuff. She was like, I had to go. She would spend hours the night before relearning it.
Yeah,
because she was
yeah.
like, I know.
I haven't done this since I graduated high school.
She was a younger mom too. Yeah. So it hadn't been that long. Yeah. But she had to relearn stuff to teach us, but they did it. And so like my dad being one hell of a dude, a great father, great husband, great man, I see that. And then I was able to see my mom's dad and see him patriarch of the family, and kind of everyone has their flaws, dude, right? We're flawed individuals. It's
right. Yeah.
But to see leading family, leading the legacy, I'm like, all right, men, what do men do? Men provide, men love, men to guide, men protect, men show up. So I'm seeing these things. All right, that's what I want to do. Yeah. Because you know what I didn't see men do? I didn't see the men in my family didn't leave. The men in my family didn't go home go to the bar before they came home and get lit and then come home, like that. No. Yeah. The men in my family didn't. There was no beatings, whoopings. We got spanked. Yeah. I got spanked a lot. Yeah, yeah. I earned every one of those spankings. I earned them well. I got spanked, but it was I know that I'm a minority when I speak to seeing a father figure who I thoroughly respect, and it breaks my heart to know that most guys don't have that and didn't have that. So I was like, oh, I better freaking not mess that up. Yeah, there's a certain thing, and I have older sister, younger brother, but like firstborn, my dad was like, oh, you're the firstborn son, right? So you're like, you got to go out there and really not prove. He didn't say prove, but I felt it. Like, you got to prove yourself.
Yeah.
And not to the family, just take care of it. Like, hey, if the family ever goes through some of the blah, you're going to be the guy they rely on.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be that guy. And so maybe, instead of, I should have played sports longer, but I wanted to work.
Yeah.
So as soon as, I was playing baseball up to 15, I got my job. Well, there goes my sports career because I got to work on the weekends. I got, there's not time for playing. I want to work. It all played into it. But it was seeing the men in my life and recognizing, okay, that's what a man does. And I didn't have anybody in the wine industry, so I didn't really like see people like the Napa quintessential winery family, stuff like that. I didn't have that as much. We had a restaurant for a while, so I got to see the hospitality side. And one of my uncle is like a second father to me, and he's always been in the restaurant industry. And so I see that. But when it came to like manliness and being a man and what that looked like, I had these solid freaking examples, which again, just blessed, because that's not normal.
Yeah.
At all.
Well, and I think, and the reason why I kind of touched on that, and we had talked previously, so that I wanted to kind of bring that. I wanted to bring that to the forefront to highlight that, because I had the same thing. Like, my dad was, grew up, both my parents were there. My dad worked, and he was just a hard worker. My mom was always there, and he just always exemplified hard work. Like, there wasn't, and I had a conversation with my mom today, right? And it was literally today, and it was very impromptu. And my dad calls me because, they're retired. They're living at home. And my dad called and said, hey, your mama ain't heard from you in like 3 days. And I was so I've been so busy. It's different, right? Yeah, it's different. No, but I'm the kid, but I'm the kid that like call. They know that there's not going to be more than 2 days that go past without me checking in. That's what they know about me, right?
I'm so not good at taking.
Yeah, no, I'm that son. I'm the youngest, so like I'm the son. I'm calling like every day, if just to hear your voice, and then it doesn't have to be a long conversation. So, hey, what's going on? No, and you go on about your day, right? But it was been like 3 days, maybe even 4. And my dad called me and said, your mama ain't heard from you in 3 days. But I know it's him.
Yeah.
But he's gonna put it on my mom. But that's the relationship we have, because I'm known to check in on him. But on top of that, like, I don't, sometimes when I don't check in, it might cross my mind, but I think about, my dad's still there, so I know my mama's okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if my dad was passed on for whatever, he wasn't there, I know I would call every single day.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm like, no, my dad's still there. So I have that kind of assurance kind of thing, but I got to check on them because they're older. So you just got to do that, right?
No, yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, just saying that, like, I just wanted to bring that out because his hard work, I always saw him. And one of the things, the conversation we had today was that my mom brought up how the economy always goes ups and down, right? And I've seen them work. I've seen him, jobs, layoffs. I've seen things happen, but no matter what, he got up and went back to work, and it might not have been in the same field that he was doing. He just knew he had to work. And no matter what, that always instilled in me, like, no matter what, I've had my, personal challenges and different things, but I always worked. Like, no matter what I had going on, no matter what I was doing on the side or whatever, I was always working. And that came from my father.
My dad has, in one of the rooms, I forgot, he had this ribbon. And on this ribbon, there was these name pins, Tony. And from all these different jobs he'd had, just the name tag. And I was like, which one's that?
Yeah.
And he was like, I used to work at Safeway in the bakery.
Yeah.
When he was like 16. I'm like, what? You don't even know how a kitchen works now.
Yeah.
You worked in a bakery? What? And all these things, because no matter, at the end of the day, he knew his job role would be provider.
Yeah.
And that a dude that doesn't work, I'm sorry. I don't know. There's nothing, I don't want to start any crap, but like, if you don't work, what the hell?
Yeah.
This new generation of kids too is like, well, if I don't love my job, love your job. Holy smokes! Yeah, if you can,
I can't wait till you have kids.
I know, right? It's gonna be. I don't know. I was like, I have this image of what I'm gonna be like as a father.
Yeah.
And people are just like, no.
No.
Not even close. I'm like, no, I am. I'm gonna be like, like no. But just this idea of, I'm gonna do this, maybe putt around to this. Well, you're gonna be working.
Yeah.
sure, go ahead and putt around, figure out your life. You're going to be working.
You're gonna be working.
You'll be figuring that out.
Yeah, and you're gonna figure it out fast. If be a hard nose. Yeah. So yeah, man. I'm gonna kind of end it right around there. I want to end on that note because I want to big up families. I want to big up people's journeys because everybody's journey is different. Whether mother struggles with mothers, struggle with fathers, but there are a lot of great stories of just when you see good men in the world, more times than not, they did have an example of a good man. But even if they didn't, there were still people that came along in that journey to help shape that, right? When you talk about your real estate, yes, you saw your father, but when you talked about what you do now with the cigar things, there was other men that came along and did that, that showed you that partnered with you, that took you under their wing, right? And life is one of my favorite books. I hate when I have to think about stuff on the fly. I really do.
It's a good book, though.
It is a good book. Yeah.
Book.
When I figure out to tell you, it's called Mastery. It's by Robert Greene. Okay. And one of the things about his book that I love about that book, he wrote the 48 Powers of Law, 48 Laws of Power. It's a real popular book. Okay. But his next book was Mastery. But one of the things he talks about in that book is the apprenticeship process. How basically before we get into the industrial age, everything was apprenticeship. But that principle, that principle is still today. Right. If you be in my trade as a barber, you have to either apprentice under someone or you go to school, right? If you go get a college degree, when you get your first job, you don't know anything. You're really apprenticing under someone, right? And so when you think about life and the evolution of life, it's all an apprenticeship program. Whether it's for work, whether it's for how you view family, whether it's for how you view who you want to be or who you want to become. And everyone does not pass the test on the first try, right? But eventually, if you have a community and people who are strong, solid men in your life, and it is not to diminish the women's role, but we're just talking as men.
Yeah, we're talking about the fathers.
We're just talking about the fathers right now. It's to really show that you just need that. We all need that. We all need that community. We all you're single. Oh wait, you're not married with no kids.
Married.
We don't want to put your relationship status, but you're not married. So I'm just going to count you as single, right? But when you decide to take that step, there's going to be a community of married men that will come along with a side who are going to tell you.
They're my best friends already.
Right?
They're already there, and I'm watching them do stuff like this. I'm like, all right. Like almost like taking notes. Being like, all right, okay, because it's different than when our dads raised us.
Yeah.
Just a different time.
It was a different time. And they didn't reveal as much, and they didn't talk about as much, but it was all action.
All action.
It was all action.
Oh, the way that they handle things and the way I watch my buds handle things now, there's times where like, I guess I don't know if I would do it that way, but I don't know. And that would be like, I want to do it just like that.
Just like that.
Just like that. I see that. And I'm like, that's exactly what I want to see. Because there's something about men leading correctly that I think is going to be and is super crucial to our culture in general. Because I'm going to cheers at the end. Well, then, I guess a little. Yeah, because I want to say, where are the good guys at? Yeah. Where are the fathers at? Stepping up. I mean, my dad took his role very seriously as a father, even better as a husband. I remember one time, we're almost there, almost done, sorry. Yeah. One time I think I was 14 or 15. Something happened, we weren't allowed to argue. So this is very mellow, something happened, but apparently I disrespected my mother some way in the way I said something, it looks like that. And he grabs me because he just heard it. Yeah. He grabs me and goes, Have you ever talked to my wife like that again? Yeah. All of a sudden, I'm not his son. I'm another guy. Yeah. You're not. I just happened to be saying something to his wife at that moment. That's my wife, yeah. He goes, Have you ever talked to my wife like that again? And I was just like that. Oh, this is different. Mm-hmm. He stood up for a way to hold up a second. Yes, you're my son. Sure. We're going to get to that second. That's my wife. Yeah. Ooh, that's a. Even, and this is attested to my mom one day. One day we were talking, one day I was in my teenage years, I was cutting up. And you guys will hear I'm going to do a podcast about my story because my journey is wild. But one day my mom said, if you're trying to make me choose between you and my husband, I'm choosing my husband. And she drew that line very clear.
Like there was no confusion. Like,
Yep.
like, you know what I mean? Because as kids, when you're growing up, you could try to do those things that one parent against the other and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, no. And I feel like today, as parents, we buy into that part more. That unity of like, no, the first step is like this husband and wife thing. You guys are next. Yes, we love you. We'll do anything we will die for you.
Right.
But if you think you're going to come between this, no, you're not going to. No. If anything, if we don't work, it's going to be because we don't work, not because you do. Because when you're grown and gone out the house, smoking cigars and doing podcasts, he's still got to.
My parents,
he still got to be with his. Yeah,
their best.
Yeah. They still got to be together, right?
And
so don't let your kids break you up.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, yeah.
Don't let
because they protected that union, the sanctity of that.
Yeah.
And the kids, they did very well by us, but they kept this special.
Yeah.
So now that we're all gone, they're fine.
Yeah, they're fine.
They're fine, and they're in love.
Yeah.
And they're hanging out and they're traveling.
Yeah.
And I just it's like that's what I want.
I gotta come back. I gotta have you come back and sit down after you've been married for like 5 years. Yeah, your whole conversation's gonna be different. Yeah, you're gonna be like, oh,
what the hell was this?
You know how I'm offering you whiskey? The whole thing's gonna be in your glass already.
Just like
you're gonna be like, hey, pour that shit up. You know what I mean?
Kids, never heard of them. Yeah.
But anyways, thank you for just sitting down with me. And I've been ending all my episodes with this, talking to my guests, saying this to my guests, that you guys are my most important guests, because you guys are the ones who said yes to me first. And when I reached out, you were like, yeah, no problem. Yeah. And I appreciate it. And I always say to those who had to wait, people want to see, and they come later, I still want you to come. But I'm thankful for you guys to come sit down with me on this first season of Meet Me in Napa podcast. I'm trying to do a new thing here. It doesn't go unnoticed that I'm a black guy doing this out here in Napa. You know what I mean? I'm new to the community, but you guys embrace me, and everybody just has open. Everybody who wanted to has opened up their doors to me, and not just with this, but just with like helping. If I have a dinner reservation, if I got, hey, what's a good place to go, and people reach out, send text messages, and it's so community driven.
Right.
I felt like I have to show the community that has been good to me thus far.
No, I love it.
Yeah, and I want to expose that.
For me, we have a private lounge. We don't get a lot of exposure for good or for bad.
Yeah, right.
For me, I love talking.
Yeah.
You want to talk about cigar?
Yeah.
We need to do this again.
Yeah.
I want to do it over there.
We're gonna do it over there. We're gonna do it over there.
Do some little something fun.
Yeah,
maybe a few
we'll definitely
more people.
do some stuff. Yeah, we'll definitely do some.
We'll do it in the bond room or something like that.
Yeah, and I know a few of I know a few brothers that go over there, got memberships over there too. Doing the thing. We're not gonna say any names, but so
no names.
Yeah, no names, and that's what I love about it. No names. So I thank you for coming out. Thank you for sharing the whiskey and cigar and educating me as well as guests and having us today. And I appreciate you, man.
Anytime.
Yeah, man.
Anytime.
Josh Diaz. And what's the name of the cigar room?
Side Street
Cigar.
On the riverfront.
Yeah.
Reach out.
Yeah.
On Instagram, we're there. You can see. I mean, we pretty much have a full walkthrough and everything there, so you can see plenty of it.
And there's Napa Cigars on First Street.
Yep.
If you guys ever, look, he's cringing.
No, I'm not.
I'm fucking with you, man.
Eric. Oh no, I mean,
no, we love it. Yeah, they're good. They're good
I have
people.
a text from him that says, we are friends.
Yeah.
He said I'm his friend.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Yeah, so send him this. I'll send you some clips. Tell him to come here, sit down with me on the couch, so he can talk smack about you guys.
Fly fishing.
Yeah.
We want to talk about fly fishing.
Okay.
Oh, he won't shut up.
Yeah.
He literally will not shut up.
We'll do that. And if you're looking for a good realtor in town, you think, guys looking, check out my boy Josh Diaz.
Yeah.
He knows the area. He's from here.
On my Instagram, Josh Diaz Real Estate.
Josh Diaz Real Estate.
Real difficult.
Yeah. And he's a hunter. We didn't really get into that, but you love hunting. Yeah.
Oh.
You brought some, and I'm going to out in with that. You brought those the steak. Yeah, they're in the refrigerator in the fridge.
Yeah.
What did you bring to me today?
Duck sticks.
Duck steaks.
So, Browns Valley Market, Joe Giovannone out there, they make some.
That's where I get all my
stuff.
meat from.
Yeah. So what I do, regardless if I'm getting pig, if I'm doing deer, if I'm doing duck, this is duck specific. You can take, after you break down the meat, you can take it to them and they'll process it out. You want to do sausages, you want to do right now deer chorizo, bro. In the morning,
chef kiss.
Oh, it's so good, and it doesn't get any more fresh than that. I've got people come over for dinner tomorrow, and we're doing stuffed peppers, and I'm gonna fill it with deer grind. Oh, just straight venison.
Yeah,
and that it's gonna be delicious.
Okay,
and so
yeah,
hunting.
Yeah, so you brought me some duck. and you had it already chopped up like sausage kind of style, like
little duck sticks.
So yeah, it's duck sticks. That's what
Yeah.
they're called, duck sticks. Yeah. So I'm gonna get some eggs, and me and the wife, you whip that up.
just
We're gonna
enjoy it.
tear it
Yeah.
up. When I eat it, I'll let you know.
Awesome.
All right. But I want to thank you guys for just watching this episode, and we're gonna bring you some more wonderful guests, some more wonderful content, and thank you guys. We'll see you on the next episode of Meet Me in Napa.